Hello, everybody. We just turned the meeting go button on, and slowly people are matriculating into this space. Hi, welcome, everybody. My name is Christopher Wierzbowski. I am so excited for you to be here today to learn more about the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation and our two different grant cycles that we put on every year, and to hear from our program staff, our leadership as well. I'm going to vamp a little bit as folks continue to join us. Um, uh, Once again, I'm Chris Wierzbowski, Associate Program Officer of Community Engagement and Government Relations. This is the third one of these events that we've put on. First one was hybrid, second virtual, and we decided to do virtual again so we can get this message out to a broader audience. And thank you so much for joining us today. And we have 48 attendees currently observing. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to move to the next slide, which is just simply our title. The Community Foundation, Inspiring Generosity, Passion, and Partnership. So we are very passionate about what we do here. And with this passion, I'm sharing our agenda for today. Today we'll be reviewing grant pillars and areas, our programs, our cycles, our portal, our grants management system portal, some of the tools that we have on hand to assist you throughout the process, in addition to contact information for your program officers currently or potential program officers that you would submit applications through. So happy to be here. I'm going to move to the next slide for foundation staff. So as you'll see with our panel, we have representation from our programs team here, and they will be sure to jump on later on in this presentation for their different sections and introduce themselves as well. But we also have our communications manager here, Sam, who shared a great link for our new newsletter, another one of our efforts to really streamline our communication and ensure you have all the things that you need from us to apply for our funding, to learn about what we do, and to get to work in this space. Next, I'd like to introduce our president, Dave Crable, to just review our mission, purpose, and to share some remarks. Dave, I believe you're muted.
There we go. Is that better, Chris?
It is.
All right, thanks. Outstanding. So as I said, I'm here to thank you for your time and for your perseverance. I persevered briefly getting on this call with all of you, but I think we really want to thank you for your work in the community, for your perseverance in working first through COVID and now stepping out of that. But we realize there are a lot of changes and potential changes afoot. And so you're in an environment where many of you, several of you, are looking at the end of ARPA funding. At the same time, you have uncertainty about perhaps federal funding in different streams. There was a recent article that posted that many nonprofits are concerned about talking, expressing concern about those streams. And so we understand the dynamic, and just wanted to share a couple things with you. One is that the foundation continues to remain dedicated to what we call the three equities: health equity, education equity, economic equity. And you will continue to see that in our work, not only just past, but also going forward. We continue to have an interest in hearing different voices in our community. So many are familiar with the Community Voices CHNA, Community Health Needs Assessment that was done. And so we'll continue to move ahead with that in the future. We certainly are also interested in the work of Dr. Washington, who's an expert in civil rights and a native of the area. And we also are looking forward to future work with Force, which is seeking to create a business group for minority business people to work back to those three equities. Um, we do encourage you, if you're having concerns related to different funding streams, that you use the grants application process to be talking to your program officer. It's a natural time to be talking about how you look at the year ahead, and also give us perhaps an inside view from your perspective how that would affect your application. So I think those are your primary contacts. Again, I'm sure program officers will reach out to me as we see some real patterns, and will help us, again, listen to you, your needs, and your concerns. So I promised I would do a short presentation, and really it is. We're here, we're listening, we're moving ahead, and looking forward to seeing, hearing, and reading your grant applications. So thanks again for your time. Chris?
Thanks for sharing, Dave. I appreciate that. Now we'll transition to next slide, just to really review our geographic focus. And Howard is going to take control of this presentation from here on out. Go ahead, Howard.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Just really excited to be here alongside this fantastic team, many of whom you will hear from today. And we are, just really pleased and excited to continue to manage grants and other resources for the on behalf of the foundation, to support the community, to support joint initiatives, conduct research, share data, and come together for special projects. And today we'll have a special focus on the area where I provide some direct oversight for the types of projects and desired outcomes for our core grant making. What you see on the screen here is our service area. Many of you who are returning partners will be familiar with this, but on that 10-mile radius around the borough of Pottstown, that geographic region still remains unchanged for our core grant making, even though now we are a community foundation. Our funding supports organizations that are, both committed to supporting community stakeholders that live within this area shown on the map. Your application now will ask to identify a primary zip code from a list of zip codes. And then we also partner with organizations whose headquarters or offices are not located with this area, but through communications such as letters of support or memorandums of understanding, which I'll talk about a little bit in the future, you can outline how your services will be provided either at specific facilities or locations in order to serve, residents here in our service area. Just gonna go to the next slide.
Okay. Just to note, some people are seeing this and some people are not. So I'll just keep record of that, and everybody just know that we will be releasing this presentation as well as a PowerPoint after we present today. So apologies if there is.
I would also say on the top of your screen, you could change your view. If you change it to gallery, it should automatically pull up the screen share that is going on. If not, I believe in the top left-hand corner, there might be a PowerPoint symbol. If you click on that, it should also pull it up.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Chris, can we go back to sharing your screen?
Absolutely.
I think that may have worked, and we can just advance to the results grant framework.
Here we go.
Yeah, so the results grant making framework is what we're going to be talking to today. And this framework really supports us to drive our grant making through long-term sustainable change in the community. when we, developed this framework, our goal was to clearly define the outcomes we were seeking to achieve through our funding, while also ensuring that the voices of the community were heard through the work of our nonprofit leaders. And this approach is designed to, truly foster that culture of transparency and equity and learning, both within the community and with our partners. Advance to the next slide.
You got it.
Actually, Chris, if you can go back real quick, and I know some of you are still having some challenges viewing the presentation, but in the middle of this slide, there's a direct link to this grant making framework. So whether you're new or returning applicant, it is really crucial to revisit that guide and ensure that your project or program aligns with the foundation's results before submitting that request. The guide outlines the priority projects, the types of projects, the corresponding results for each program area. And we're only going to cover a small priority list of those today. But we, just wanted to share that this journey to learn alongside our community has been one that, I've cherished. And throughout this process, we've seen significant progress in adopting this framework. We do recognize that there is still a lot of work to be done. And that's why we're going to continue to offer tools and support for both new and returning applicants. And this includes technical assistance for the review of draft applications, which we'll discuss in a little bit. So I'm going to go to the next slide that talks about our program pillars. And really, no matter what type of award you are going to request or propose, the purpose of the grant application will align with one of our 2 grant making pillars that you see here on the screen and one of our 3 program areas. Next slide is the award types. And there are 3 award types. I'm going to start in the middle of this screen here on capacity building. So capacity building awards really aim to increase the organization's ability to achieve these measurable results in its programs. And this could include supporting capital infrastructure projects. It could also include plans or studies. We recently were able to award a local collaborative with a grant to support a partnership with the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. And this type of work helps us to, advance the goals of the framework because, there are ways in which the community is inclusive in the development of a local strategy that enhances, this place, right, and the assets of this place to support education, tourism, and business. Other examples are capital campaigns and capital infrastructure projects. They would best fit here. You'll hear a little bit about them when we talk about the built environment a little later. The capital infrastructure projects mostly require a 50% match. Another example of capacity building awards is the new and improved infrastructure, and that could also include the acquisition of new software or improve efficiencies to boost your ability to measure progress towards these, results or the outcomes that you're looking to achieve with your work. And lastly, I'll share that, in this area of capacity building, perhaps you're looking to support your organizational structure or your governance. Dave mentioned a little bit of the challenges that some organizations are either experiencing or, could experience in the future. And something that, capacity building awards can support are ways in which those impacts can be really mitigated by taking preemptive action or just studying, possible changes in your revenue streams. So, in some cases, you partner with consultants to thoughtfully plan and develop or deploy these steps that could help mitigate some of those risks. I'm going to talk a little bit here about the Systems Reform Awards. And these are awards that affect or inform change on a macro level. So that could influence policy. It could work to, ensure that equitable practices are implemented and silos across systems are eliminated. So when we talk a little bit more about our historical awards in this area, you'll see that there is an opportunity to increase our awards here in the systems reform area. One example, that Dave shared was when we, learned through some of our work in partnership with community. We've recently worked with a group called Impact Mobility Community, and we learned that the small business community, and in particular minority and women-owned businesses, the research demonstrates that there are barriers to access the capital when property values rise through the reinstatement of a transit project or passenger rail in this case. So that that places risk of displacement of businesses, and there are collaborative approaches that directly address these and other conditions when they do not exist currently in the community. So those collaborative approaches are ways in which systems reform grants can be brought forward to address them. Next slide. So I did skip over programmatic. We're going to talk a lot about that when we advance through the program areas. That will be our area of focus, but I'll talk about that later. Eligibility, you'll see this on our website. As I mentioned, capital grants have match requirements, and on our website is how you'll be communicated to, or how you'll be asked to communicate that match. Something to note is that faith-based organizations, we ask that, they partner with other faith-based organizations in their proposed project to maintain eligibility. Something you'll see that's not on this slide is that, all grants or proposals will have a required field for the number of people served. So that estimate, as well as 2 other results, are requested. And lastly, we do recommend that organizations only submit 1 application directly in the grant round, and we're continue to formalize that in the way we communicate our policies in the future. All right, next slide. So there are ways that we can assess proposals that we know will make them more competitive. And as many of you are aware, the foundation regularly generates both qualitative reports that analyze the current state of the social determinants of health and other community conditions here in our region. And we conduct this research alongside the community to guide the development of targeted strategies for local programming. And our most competitive projects will utilize this or other data to pinpoint specific needs that the programs or projects aim to address. Our grant making framework does challenge organizations to substantiate that necessity of the programs, and it's just learned that over time it has been less competitive to simply state that your services are needed because they exist in areas experiencing conditions like poverty or food insecurity. As program officers, we're asked to evaluate whether the proposed solutions are supported by research and best practices and effectively address, a specific challenge. And sometimes, by not doing so, we can inadvertently perpetuate some existing inequities. And so that's one of the reasons why we really look at, the strategies that are being proposed. In addition, successful projects often demonstrate a commitment to working closely with the community that they serve. So this includes involving community members in the design, the implementation, the evaluation of the program, as well as ensuring that it truly meets their needs and desires through partnering with them throughout the process. And Dave mentioned a recent example of an approach that, above and beyond our current grant making, our core grant making, the foundation, through work of Dr. Kalistra, stood up a community-driven decision-making process to respond to the Pottstown Community Survey called the Pottstown Community Voices Grant Fund. So that $100,000 that was implemented was really based on the insights of community members and was driven by their priorities. So these approaches are really a high priority of the foundation. Next slide. So again, you'll hear me continue to talk about results-oriented deliverables. So looking at the foundation's guide and trying to identify how your program aligns with the results that we're looking to achieve through our grant making. It's also essential that we, look at competitive projects that talk about progress over milestones throughout the grant term. So for example, instead of merely saying, we'll look to confirm that X amount of students improved academic success, at the end of the grant, what are the steps that we take during the grant term to reach this and other results? So you have the opportunity to demonstrate that in your project plan. Competitive projects also show how they will be sustained beyond the immediate grant term, right? So one way to do this is to demonstrate active partnerships with other institutions, maybe through, agreements. So that way, we're understanding that you're leveraging those resources, relationships, and expertise across multiple organizations. Another, competitive proposal will demonstrate sustainability by showing additional resources, so additional financial sources beyond what is being requested by the foundation. And I would say that, most competitive applications usually, have 50% or more of their budget sourced from other contributors. That said, we do understand that, some pilot programs or, startup programs or projects may not have those dollars to support them. And, again, when the need is demonstrated, those are considered as competitive as well. All right. Next slide. Thank you. As you'll see, last year, we awarded 84 grants through our core grant making, and that was just about $2.2 million through those 2 grant rounds. Historically, our typical award is anywhere between 25 and 35,000, and in 2024, the average award was, I would say, on the low end of that range. And with first-time grantees mostly below 10,000, about 37% went to the promoting equitable health and wellness pillar in the area of health equity, so that community members were, working through the projects and the work of our nonprofit partners to remove or mitigate social and emotional and economic barriers to health and wellness. And then on the youth development side, our developing youth potential side, our youth development program area received about 25% of the overall support, so that youth would have the cognitive, social, emotional skills to manage and thrive in their daily lives and in the future. I would say, like in years prior, the majority of grants last year were programmatic grants. So you'll see about 77% were programmatic. And as I mentioned before, there's the opportunity to increase in the systems reform area. The first year we launched the framework, about 3% of our awards were for systems reform. And as you see last year, it's been a slight increase. And lastly, I would just say that while every grant round presents a different set of opportunities for us to respond to, challenges in the community as well. We are on course to repeat what's represented here as like the ranking of funding allocations by program areas. Next slide. So our team probably gets sick of me saying this, but I often talk about a mentor of mine in social impact, and she would always say, if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to know when you get there? And I would say that wisdom has been imparted on me, and it's helped, really shape my approach to social impact, but it also is grounded in the approach of the results framework by, just asking organizations to align their strategy with our framework. And, while we do understand that not every grant can reach stakeholders at each one of these three continuums, the results that are provided by our framework allows us to support progress toward what we believe will be, meaningful change over time through these investments. So in the connect phase, that's really where the journey begins. It's where, we're creating awareness and establishing initial connections. We think of that as the groundwork. So if your project aligns there, raising awareness, you're laying the seeds of future results. In the improve phase, that's where we kind of nurture those seeds. We see active participation, we see measured improvements. And this stage is really about building on those initial connections and fostering engagement so that we do start to see some tangible outcomes. And then lastly, in the change phase, that's where, we would hope that transformation is occurring. That's that lasting change that, really helps reshape the landscape or really, stabilizes some healthy behaviors. And the ultimate goal here is, not just to touch lives temporarily, but to make a profound and enduring impact. So with that said, I'm going to just start to talk about our pillars, and the first pillar of developing youth potential. And I did share that, we really believe that investing in children now will lead to a better tomorrow in our community. And to that end, the desired impact for developing youth potential is that, we're really trying to equip our community youth with those skills that they, need to thrive now and in the future, especially those less served. Next slide. So these are all the desired impacts in all of the youth developing youth potential program areas. So we're actually just going to speak to them as we grow through each of the additional slides in this presentation. If you could jump back, yeah, there you go. And I really hope everybody's following along here. I'm on the first youth development slide. These slides, there's a lot of text here, but when you receive this presentation, please know that, we're intentionally sharing this so you don't have to navigate our website or the guide so that you can find this information. But, the desired impact in youth preparedness, youth development is that we, are serving youth ages 11 to 23, especially those underserved with the skills to thrive now and in the future. And you'll see, one example is mentorship projects or programs that aim to, leverage research that really does suggest youth mentoring programs can have positive outcomes for young people in a variety of ways, through their education, through their health and safety, their social and behavioral interactions. The last reporting cycle that we had here, there were actually 6 organizations that reported that, youth confirmed that a mentor support had positively impacted their overall well-being. And they went about that in different ways. but whether it was through their school performance or communicating that they were more involved in clubs or extracurricular activities, there was that thread across each of those projects in the area of youth preparedness. Also here is sports programs. We know that COVID, increased some barriers to youth sports. We're also, experiencing that being played out here locally through some studies. We've learned a little bit more about that as well. So these programs not only increase physical health, but also social skills. So, this is a challenge to sometimes deliver in feeder sports environments, right? So these awards are typically less than our average because we know that thread just requires some focus, but it most likely is not the core component of your youth sports program. Other results that we've seen on the next slide here are about career exploration, and these programs can help youth gain work experiences and develop leadership skills as well as entrepreneurial concepts. We've really appreciated the continuation of proposals that do integrate paid youth internships into the delivery of programming. And again, sounded on research, we know that effective youth career exploration programs actually can help break the cycle of poverty, by equipping young people with critical work experiences, experiences to, professional work environments, skills development, and understanding of high demand occupations. We've seen one organization actually leverage or use a federal program that was offered through the county IU intermediate unit for dollars to pay and place their interns while offering the social skills development and mentorship through their programming, right? So, that approach helped connect networks and combine career exploration with mentorship and job readiness. And while we, again, know that all the results that are proposed in this area, so when you go to the youth preparedness section of our guide, you'll see a long list of results. We don't, believe it's needed or even realistic to achieve, all the results in each one of these areas of the continuum. But we do ask that, these elements are incorporated into your program and verified either through surveys or other tools. And lastly, what I'll say in this area is that you'll hear in capacity building that a tool offered specifically for youth preparedness is a software called Hello Insight, and there have been about 5 organizations that have used this platform over the past several years to learn about and track the effectiveness of their youth programming. All right. Next slide here, we're talking about schools. This is really a unique program area. Since 2004, the foundation has funded more than $13 million to area schools through our grant making, and actually hundreds of thousands more through programs that support our school wellness initiative. These programs really demonstrate a high priority, and applicants to the programmatic type of grant, they should be districts or private schools in our service area. There have been exceptions to this when requesting support in the systems reform area, but they will need to have really hyper local impacts. But listed here, you see kind of highlighted here is a change type of result. And this is related to the what we call the school wellness checklist. It's a partnership with the Medical University of South Carolina, and it's really foundational to it's a foundational element to our grant making with schools and our programming with schools. And we know that the research suggests Medical University of South Carolina and the School Wellness Checklist program over time has helped schools demonstrate that for every 50 points, and if you don't participate in this, these points may be kind of ambiguous, these points may not relate to you, but for every 50 points earned on the checklist, it leads to a certain percentage increase in high school graduation rates. And other studies about the checklist demonstrate that schools who participate experience reductions in the behavioral referrals as well as increase in school attendance. So these are things that are really important, and that's why it is a core element of our grant making here. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that linked again on this page is more information specific to the school wellness initiative. So again, this is a unique program, and we really wanted to communicate all of the specific components that make a request in this area competitive. So these types of things are the school wellness coordinator. We want the resources again to align with the school wellness checklist, and we also ask that schools do commit to supporting the components of the school wellness initiative guide, or the components of the school wellness initiative that include the collaborative and healthy bodies, healthy minds. And many of you who have partnered with us over the years, I really appreciated working alongside of you to make this program really what it is today. So just lastly, I would share that competitive applicants in this area have really committed to having at least a part-time wellness coordinator. They've established a system for actually contracting with school wellness champions at each school in their district. Others have demonstrated how wellness is prioritized by integrating wellness days into their school-wide professional development. Really great to not only score points on the wellness culture category of school wellness checklist, but also just truly demonstrating that their leadership prioritizes wellness and has built and sustained that culture over a long period of time. And lastly, I'll also say that some schools have committed to really demonstrating that data of student achievement in their healthy fitness standards has been a priority. And then lastly, that staff and students are credentialed in skills that are related to health and wellness. And I'm going to pass the virtual baton now to Chris to talk about early childhood development. And I did mention that the desired impact in this area is that children ages 0 to 5 they're cognitively, socially, physically, and emotionally ready to attend school. And with that, I'll pass it to Chris.
Hi, everybody. I'll be pretty quick. You're receiving a lot of information today, but I just wanted to step in here and talk about this program area. We've received historically applications focused on areas ranging from prenatal, postnatal, to pre-K services, so caregiving, so childcare. When you're approaching this application area, this program area, just like had been said earlier, really looking for results-driven measures, and our strongest applications to date, I believe, are those that do pre and post entry surveys for either parents or youth participating in those programs. But really looking at reducing access to these services across the board. We know that childcare is essential for an effective workforce, but also community. So looking at opportunities for applications for both direct services for youth, but also improvement to facilities, and looking at leveraging matches to ensure that we have the most efficient use of dollars to provide the most effective and efficient services to increase those results for the youth that we serve in the community. With that, I'll pass it along and we'll move on to Craig.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And hello, everyone. I'm Craig Callistra, Senior Program Officer with the Foundation. And if you are applying for this pillar, promoting equitable health and wellness, I'll be your primary contact, as well as Chris, depending on which program area you do apply for. But at this time, I'll be going over this pillar.
Muted yourself, Craig.
That was strange. And here we have the desired impact for the overall pillar, as well as each program area. Again, depending on which program area you apply for, it'll obviously be a different type of impact that we'll be seeking and you'll be aligning with. Overall, we're looking for applications and programs and projects where all community members benefit from equitable access to spaces, services, programs, and resources that empower them to embrace a healthy lifestyle. Again, within this pillar, we have 3 program areas. The first being the built environment, with the desired impact that community members are utilizing public spaces that are safe, clean, and accessible to embrace a healthy lifestyle. I'll be your primary contact for this program area. Another program area where Chris will be your primary contact is health access and delivery. I'm looking for impact, to our residents through the provision of high quality health programs and resources that are available and utilized by all community members, especially those underserved. And lastly, health equity encapsulates a broad range of social determinants of health with the desired impact where community members have their social or economic barriers to health and well-being removed or mitigated. At first, built environment, these are typically reserved for municipalities that are seeking funds to improve their public park spaces. And just a few types of programs and projects that are prioritized to give you some examples and find opportunities and areas of alignment with your program or project. Seeking development or improvement to trails, parks, and community centers. In addition to plans and studies for these public spaces, recognizing that really these are essential to help municipalities and other institutions really guide their work to serve their residents, and also a requirement for many state and federal grants. And so being able to access funds through the foundation really sets you up for a more competitive grant application, even at the state and federal level. We're looking for applicants that provide programming for youth and adults within these public spaces. Also, alignment with other community plans and studies. We have some great resources on our website, a recreation plan that was conducted back in 2010, but still provides really some very relevant recommendations, as well as other community plans and studies. Talked about the community health needs assessment that's available on our website as well. And also the research to evaluate maybe the impact of programs and facilities. An example here for the Connect stage of our results process is that institutions secure equitable stakeholder buy-in and necessary project resources in order to carry out their project. This next program area, health equity, there's really three main themes within this program area: building and sustaining economic security, food system sustainability, and civic engagement. For this first area of economic security, again, look for projects that really address systemic approaches to eliminating the racial wealth gap. Perhaps projects and programs that build the skills necessary to meet the current and future labor markets, identifying and eliminating barriers Again, check out our community health needs assessment. There is a section on barriers to employment within the Pottstown community and some specific census block groups, which is a great source of information. And also increasing underserved residents' ability to own homes and build generational wealth. When it comes to food system sustainability, we're looking to help residents move towards food insecurity, supporting nutrition education, food justice, research development or programming, and also supporting the food system become more resilient and sustainable. So not only addressing those immediate needs, but also looking at the food system. And moving on to civic engagement, just recognize the importance of lived experiences in our programs and projects. Foundation has been taking steps to do that ourselves. We'll be looking for applicants to incorporate community voice and lived experiences in their development of their programs and projects, and also the implementation. On the application, you will find a question as well that includes, there at least addresses this lived experience really need in our work, and be asking how you've incorporated lived experience and community voice and resident engagement in your process. Howard mentioned the Community Voices Response Fund that we implemented last year. That's just one example how we're seeking to do that within our own work. Just as an example here, going back to the food insecurity indicator, and this is something, the one option as you're looking at, how you're making an impact in your work, you'll find this as, an indicator that you can choose, confirming regular consumption of fruit and vegetables at CDC recommended levels.
My time to jump in again. Hey, everybody, it's Chris. I'm covering and I'm responsible for the healthcare access and delivery program portfolio. Within this program area, typically we're looking for applicants with very precise projects focused on barriers remediation to healthcare access and delivery. So our most successful applicants in this area can really measure and track those specific impacts within our service area. As listed here, we've had some successful grantees who focus on looking at those language barriers, transportation barriers, things along those lines. So some applicants have done this broadly, focusing on specific demographics as well. So there's opportunity here for both direct service to treat those barriers that exist, but also capacity building. If you're a healthcare focused organization, what capacity do you need to serve more clients effectively that have historically not been represented within your client demographics? This is opportunity to leverage organizational dollars and work to really address some chronic health issues and look at those harder to reach populations. So I'm looking for highly precise applicants who are looking at zip codes and really tracking this work. So I'm looking forward to reading your works and supporting you in your application process.
Hello,
Now
everybody.
transition. Let's go.
Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
My name is Brendan Stangl. I am the grants manager for the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation. On your screen, you will see the timeline for our 2025 grant cycle. Grant applications will go live on March 1st, and applications can be submitted through our Koya Go portal until March 31st at 5 p.m. We will not be accepting any grants before or after those dates, so make sure you submit within that time window, please. We encourage our grantees to take part in our technical grant assistance, which Chris will speak more on in just a moment. But the window to take advantage of that technical assistance will be open from March 4th through March 21st. Once the grant application is closed, the foundation will go through our internal process for review and selection. That starts with our grant staff, and then our board committee will then review the applications to submit to our full board for approval. This process typically takes some time, but we do that in an effort to be thorough and make sure we're incorporating many voices throughout that process. We will be, once the reviews and selections are complete, we'll be sending grant award notifications during the week of June 2nd, and then grant award terms for spring 2025 cycle. We'll have a starting date of July 1st. Next slide, please, Chris. Here we're highlighting some of our grant staff roles. I'm here to help with any issues or questions that may arise while you are navigating the system or submitting a grant. Chris Wierzbowski, our Associate Program Officer, is available for technical support. He's also our point of contact for many new, current, and returning grantees. Howard Brown and Craig Callistra are Senior Program Officers and points of contacts for new, current, and returning grantees as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who will talk a little bit more about our technical support offering, which we hope you'll take advantage of.
Thank you, Brendan. I also just want to clarify on this slide, there's an old note here around a comms blackout. So just for your reference, this isn't in effect. We appreciate good communication with our grantees throughout this process, and want to ensure that our communication lines are open. Technical writing support. This is an exciting time for me to share. I really love helping writers or community members, community leaders understand, our application process, but also just around how to speak about your projects and your work as they may relate to both our foundation and our application, and how to look at language and just how we communicate. And so this opportunity is for anybody who's applying for our funds to schedule a time with me, and we'll work through a draft version of your application. My expectation is, so we don't waste our time, is for you to send at least within 48 hours a draft of this application completed in the system for us to walk through. So really, we want to spend our time well. So be sure you book time with me, get your draft done, and we'll really hack it apart and work through it. And if we don't get it done in day one and you need more assistance, I'm here to support you as well. So I'm a resource for everybody, in that process. And so please be sure to sign up. And support will not guarantee an award, just being sure to say that, share that as well. Thanks. Hey, Brendan.
So this slide has our signing in and registering. So all applications for any foundation grants will be processed through our Go grant management system. We will not be accepting any hard copies or emailed digital versions that are sent to grant staff. Everything that must be submitted through Go Apply. At the bottom here, we've included some links, to the grant portal. Once you visit the site, it will look like the image we have included here. If you're a returning user, please enter your credentials and log in to access your applications. If this is your first time using the grant portal, you will need to click on Create a New Account, which will walk you through the registration process. We're also including a link to our registration guides with step-by-step instructions that can help guide you through the process. If you encounter any issues at any point of this process, whether you're having trouble logging in and as an existing user or just having some issues as a new user, please reach out to me for support. I am here to help in any way that you need. Next slide, please. All right, so when you log into the grants portal, you should see the opportunities page set as your default. This is where all of our grant applications will live. Should you not see that as your default view, please click the Opportunities tab to display the applications. As you can see in the slide, our grant applications are broken out by our support types. Before you apply to a grant, please be sure that you're clear on which type of support you plan to apply for. Program officers can help you determine which support type will best fit your request if you have any questions. You will also have the chance to further define your program and pillar once you have selected your support type and begin filling out your application. All right, next slide, please, Chris. Before you begin any application, we're going to let our EMS folks take a second to go by real quick. All right. Before you begin any application, please be sure to click on your organizational profile and verify that all of your organizational information is up to date and correct. If adjustments are needed, this is the tab where you would make those changes. And in addition to checking your organizational information, you should also click on the Go Apply Users tab to verify that all your team user information is up to date and accurate. If any issues arise, I'm here to help. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. Next slide, please. So we're hopping back into the portal with this slide. As you're navigating through our application questions, you'll have the chance to select a program area. Once you choose one of our 6 program areas, you will be branched out into specific questions about that program area. Please be sure to review our results grant making framework and determine which program and pillar your project best fits under before applying. Next slide, please. So this slide includes several resources that can provide you with tools to navigate the grant application process and allow your requests to be highly competitive. Resource number 1 is a link to our website where you can find a number of different helpful tools. This includes information about our cycle, guidelines, and other tools that can help guide you through the process, as well as an FAQ to answer some questions that you may have. Additionally, as our grants team mentioned, the Foundation's results grant making framework clearly lays out all of our foundational goals and benchmarks for our grant making. The second link on the slide takes you to a PDF where you can review that framework. All right, so this is our project work plan slide or portion of our application. And this really gives you an opportunity to outline and share how you will achieve the results you're proposing. This is your chance to share with the Foundation your roadmap for what your goals are, how you will achieve them and track them, and also spell out the timeline for meeting those goals. Once again, our most competitive grants will work to tie in our grant making results framework into this narrative. Next slide, please. And you can skip one more, Chris, please. All right. So our project's results and inputs for impact framework. You will note as you progress through the application that there are many key progress indicators you can choose to measure your anticipated impact. Please note, as Howard mentioned, we do not expect a grantee to choose every single key progress indicator. In fact, the most competitive grantees will focus on specific areas where their grants will have the most impact. For example, the current slide, this shows an example of a health equity grant, albeit a little tiny. One standard result we expect is the total number of community members served. The other metrics you should track should be chosen by your ability to track and report on these results. Different program areas will have different metrics to be tracked, and we have tried to provide prospective grantees with a number of options of trackable outcomes within our grant making framework. So you have some options. Please remember that more doesn't necessarily mean better. The focus should be on what your organization can track and report on reliably. Additionally, it is important to be consistent throughout your application and to connect these results with your narrative. Why are we focused on these results? As Howard mentioned, these metrics provide the Foundation with valuable insights into the impact of your programs and help us to continue to support the amazing work that you're doing in the community. And please note that our grantees are required to participate in a 6-month interim report as well as submit a final report on the conclusion of your grant term. The results you plan to track will also be included in those reports. And you can go to slide 40, Chris, please. Thank you. This is our budget section of our application. It's where you can give detailed information on the various aspects of your budget. As you're filling this out, please be sure to include numbers that are specific to your program or project. This is not where you would enter your overall organizational budget. This is specific to your program or project. New to this grant cycle, we've also added a budget narrative section. This is your chance to further clarify use of foundation grant dollars to support your project and further make a connection within our results framework. The goal of the foundation for requesting this information is for us to have a chance to learn how you plan to spend the grant award dollars to support your program. This includes your programmatic costs, expenses, additional funding sources to further support your program, and a narrative, your chance to explain those numbers in the budget. And that's the end of my portion of this presentation, but please don't hesitate to reach out with me with any questions, technical issues you might encounter. As I said, I'm here to help throughout the process. Our whole team is here to help throughout the process, and we are very much looking forward to receiving your applications. So I'll turn it back over. Thanks.
All right. In addition to our grant making, there's other ways that we do support our nonprofit sector. We spoke about research and studies. You can find those on our website under the, I believe, in the community tab. So feel free to utilize them, leverage them for your grant application. Again, it's something that we do look at when you're applying for grants, how well you do leverage existing data sources to support your justification of need. Another way is through collaboration and capacity building support that we serve the nonprofit sector. This first item, capacity building. There are different opportunities, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about these opportunities. Some of these we spoke to during the presentation, but the first item listed here is the ICAT. This is an organizational assessment that has been available to our grantees. Even if you're not a grantee, you can still get access to it because it does a great job of assessing some of the strengths within your organization and areas for opportunity. And so this is a tool where staff take this online assessment as well as board members, and it provides a report on how well you're doing in different areas such as mission, financial capacity, and other core areas of organizational development, and provide some recommendations. Again, feel free to reach out to me if that's something that your organization would be interested in. Howard mentioned Hello Insight, just a fantastic data collection tool for youth development grantees. Provides an assessment of your programs. This is taken directly by youth in your programs to evaluate and respond to what young people need. Again, does pre-post, but it also has a check-in option midway through your program as well. It also provides great recommendations and just toolkits to then respond to these areas of need within your organization. If this is something your organization is interested in, please reach out to me. Currently, there's a handful of organizations that take great advantage of this tool. It does, create or does require, some investment of time. And so, we'll be able to connect you with the provider of this tool, and you really assess, your capacity and maybe what option works best, that pre-post, or is it just that check-in? And we usually look towards the fall to offer these scholarships. So it's really important that you reach out to me now, or in the next few months if this is something your organization would be interested in. Another option is Catch a Fire. This is something new we've been offering the last few years that matches skilled professional volunteers with nonprofits to help them increase their capacity and achieve their missions. Just a great online platform that's included with all active grants. So if you are a current active grantee, this is something that you do have access to at this time. What you can do is post projects that your organization may be in need of. Thanks, Shannon, for that shout out. For Catch a Fire, there's different ways that you can utilize Catch a Fire. This could be brochure, graphic design support, data analytics. Perhaps employee organizations have used it to help develop employee handbooks. I've used it for logo design, marketing strategies, organizational strategies. So really any need that you can think of within your organization, you can get connected with an expert in the field to provide this at no cost to your organization. Lastly here, with each grant award is a membership to TCN. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the Tri-County Community Network, providing incredible education resources for the nonprofit sector, training opportunities to build organizational capacity, and consulting support as well to address organizational needs. I have this in the wrong section here, but this accelerator workshop ties into Catch a Fire, and just wanted to let all of you know that our active grantees, that there is a workshop in person March 20th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Location TBD, but it will likely be at Montgomery County Community College. This is an opportunity to connect directly with Catch a Fire staff. They'll be there to provide just a presentation on how you can best leverage this tool, and also answer any questions that you have regarding how to best leverage Catch a Fire. The second section, collaboratives. The foundation has played a role in providing backbone support to various collaboratives within the Pottstown area. And so if your organization, your program or project aligns with any of these collaboratives, this is a really good opportunity to get connected with other organizations that are serving residents. Great networking opportunity. And just a few of these, the Pottstown Area Regional Recreation Committee serving parks and our recreational spaces. School Collaborative, which is a great resource for our schools to share their work and learn from peers. We have the Pottstown Area Food Collaborative. So if you're in the food space, this is a cross-sector collaborative, reimagining how to allocate local assets, leverage resources to co-create a local food system. Tri-County Health Council, working collaboratively across the healthcare sector. And Pottstown Place Truths, a fantastic initiative. A public-private coalition-driven recreation and community outreach program that takes place in the summer, and streets are closed down, and really provides residents with the opportunity to get active, connect with their local community, and also our nonprofit sector to connect with local residents. And so if that's something that you're interested in, you'll want to reach out to Chris for that program. But again, please, if you are serving residents in any of these areas, great opportunity to get connected with these collaboratives. And this really does conclude our presentation, but we do want to spend some time. Hearing from you. If you have any questions, we want to make sure we take the time to respond to those. And so please, I think your mics are off, so please you can raise your team's hand. And
little hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we will call on you. There is one question in the chat. You can either do it that way or also post a question in the chat. But we do have a question about feedback on past submissions. How do you get feedback? That is something that we have provided to organizations that have submitted applications and perhaps their application was declined or their funding was reduced. And so what you'll want to do is reach out to your program officer and schedule a time to connect and have that conversation.
I would say as well that the communication that you received directly in response to your application, whether it was a award that was provided or a declination, a response to that communication will also prompt us to, reach out and schedule some time to talk.
Any other questions? Please don't be shy. There are no bad questions. I know this was a lot of information to take in. And Shona has her hand raised.
All right, I'm going to allow the mic. Shona, bear with me. Okay, your mic is allowed. Now you have to unmute.
Okay, found it. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am really just so grateful for the opportunity to be here and listen to all of these initiatives that are taking place in the foundation. I'm really excited about Play Streets and everything else that's going on. I do want to ask the question about support in developing the language that's needed for a really good proposal. So could you just explain that process a little bit more, if you wouldn't mind going back a little bit? And do we have to put the application in first and then go in and request some time with you, Chris? And
Sure. Yeah. So thanks for clarifying that, Shona. I wasn't very specific in my language. I was kind of relying too much on the verbiage on the slide. But the process is to sign up. So there's a link in the slide, as well as kind of through the newsletters we've been sending out to sign up for a meeting with me. So you'll book a meeting with me through that system. It's called Bookings. It's through Microsoft, like this presentation. And after you book that, you'll go into your own application through our system and do your best to fill out as much as you can in that application without submitting it. Don't hit the submit button. You haven't submitted yet. And so after you get your draft kind of to an okay stage, have your main points, right? Your services and what best aligns based on your viewpoint. Then we would meet based on that scheduling, and we'd work through that, kind of going back and forth. So a little bit more intentional. I know you and I have talked about kind of language and around sustainability, for example, and so we would talk kind of how to reflect that kind of in the advances of your work, like the implementation of QuickBooks, for example.
yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you're just elaborating on that a little. Very, very helpful, because last time I tried to use it, it didn't quite work. So I really needed that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shona.
All right, we have a question in the chat. If working in a collaborative as an individual nonprofit, can more than one application be submitted? Howard, I'll turn that one over to you.
We do suggest that one application submitted per organization, and in some cases that is not the case when there is a fiscal sponsor involved, and that fiscal sponsor is submitting the application on the behalf of either the applicant or the collaborative.
Great. And it's likely that your organization, because we do encourage partnerships in any program or project, and again, there'll be a question about in your application about what organizations you're partnering with. We encourage collaboration, so your name may show up, of course, in that application as a partner. So that is encouraged, but when it comes to applying for an application, yes, as Howard mentioned, request one application per organization per grant round.
And just from a writing perspective, really distinguishing that if there is a need to have multiple, these applications, with one collaborative and then your individual organization, doing your best to distinguish the services, so it's not just duplication of services through that additional request. That's the way that you'll help yourself the most, either through our applications or any others in the future.
And Lori, I see that you did have to step away during my response. So you can reach out to your program officer, depending on what pillar and program area you applied to, and program officer can provide some feedback on past submissions. And of course, for current submissions, technical assistance is available through Chris.
Okay.
Any other questions? And of course, if you leave here, going about your day and a question does arise, or again, you're going through, start the application process and a question comes up, you can reach out then.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry, you responding to a new question. Go ahead.
No, go ahead while I read the question.
Yeah, very good. I've lost my train of thought because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we have a question about requests in consecutive grant rounds. And so if you receive a grant in the fall, can we apply for a spring grant round if we identify a new area of work, or if we find that our current grant needs more funding? I'll turn that over to you, Howard.
I think that the guidance is that, if you have a current grant, because we would not want to overlap one grant with the one that is current, then an application to support that particular project would not be eligible. The opportunity to consider another specific project or something to address another need that is outside of the scope of the current grant is one that would be considered.
Okay. If there aren't any other questions, I think we will take this time to give time back to you today, as our team likes to say to everybody when we can end meetings early. So we're going to do that. But also just to remind everybody, you will receive automatic emails after this presentation with a link to the recording. And we will also be circling back around by the end of this week with the copy of this PowerPoint for everybody. You have our emails through the PowerPoint, but also by email through the registration earlier on. So as Craig mentioned earlier, and this is what I failed to remember really quickly, but when you do come up with those questions and you have them, use that email that I sent this morning for the primary thread, and we'll use that to communicate anything moving forward. Again, I want to thank everybody for their time and also invite anybody from the team if they want to pop in. And Shona, what's up? Hey, I'm on mute. I think you're good. You're good. Shona, yeah, you can go.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask really quick, because it just came up in my mind while you're on the phone or on the chat now. If our scope changes and location, would that disqualify us from the grant? Like if we reach out to people outside of Pottstown? Or
So
should we just,
yeah, so we started, the presentation started. So one of the things always to consider when applying for funds is like that geographic area. So our work encompasses that 10-mile area. So anything that you would want to do as an organization that would fall within that area would be eligible, but how you design or talk about your work will really make it competitive. Okay, so if you want to expand the work, and also just let me clarify too, are you asking like during or before the submission or after submission of your work when you
no,
started doing the work?
during submission?
Yeah.
Yeah, during submission, because for example, let me just give you a real clear example so you understand what I'm going through here. So we started a project in Bright Hope. People moved from Bright Hope and they took their projects with them. So now the focus is not just on Bright Hope anymore, but on Bright Hope and wherever those people move to.
Okay.
With their gardening projects.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, so I think we just have to work through it kind of one-on-one through our tech support and talk about what that would look like for your particular program. If they're still within this service area, I don't think it would be a major challenge. And if it would be residents that have moved on from Bright Hope because they found other housing or moved on in their journeys, I think it could be a very interesting and neat outcome. And I think requires some more time between you and I and your, I think Craig, to talk about how it would fit within a portfolio. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot
okay,
of
thank you.
philanthropy jargon, and but we can talk more, and it shouldn't be an issue. Let's just talk more, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you all.
And we have a question about fall submission dates. When will those be posted? We're pretty consistent about our spring and fall grant rounds. And so the fall grant round does open in September.
And I would say just to give everyone an update that the grant, or I'm sorry, our website will be updated in the months ahead, and we're working on having those consistent dates posted in the grant making section, so you can anticipate what the spring and fall open and close dates will be well in advance going forward.
I'll entreat anybody else to the opportunity for a question before we close. Okay, going once.
Wait.
Yes. Nice.
And we're happy to stay on if you don't have any questions. Feel free to leave. But if we have a grant that is accepted for a health and wellness area, in the health and wellness area for children, a walking path with a focus on nature on a property that is currently owned by a church, is there a stipulation for that property if it is if in the future it is sold? Does the grant have a time frame?
It seems very specific in relation to capital works and policy there, Craig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are looking for sustainability within any project, and so this is something that we would consider, as we're reviewing this application. And of course, we will want that public space available in perpetuity, of course, to the public. Property can surely change hands, and so so we'd hope there'd be like language in any agreement with property owner. And so I'm happy to talk more about that, and what we will be looking for in that application. So feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a deeper conversation about that. Can we apply for 2 years instead of 1?
I'll speak to that one. 2-year grants are sometimes a consideration only when our allocation would support that. So, that just means that the budget that we as a grants team are given to, allocate through our grant making is limited to the fiscal year in which we are receiving and reviewing the grant. And unless there has been an announcement that we are, making a 2-year commitment with a certain, set of dollars, I think that happened back in 2018 with the School Wellness Initiative. Unless that is stated, then, we would not be promoting a 2-year application. But again, if the dollars within our certain program area would permit it, and we could get there, it would be considered. So it's kind of like a gray area, but I would say, just based on our budget, right now it's highly unlikely that a 2-year award would be granted.
And there's one of the differentiations that we do encounter as the capital projects that are typically applied for by public institutions and consider those schedules. And the 2-year applications that we have seen sometimes, I don't, it's from a grant writing perspective, when you're trying to establish your deliverables for that 1 year versus over a 2-year, and you may face a reduction because of that budget limitation. It may be harder to recalibrate your operations. So it's a complicated opportunity, but I appreciate you asking that question, Nellie. Absolutely. Okay. If I say and we can keep hanging out with people if they want, but I'm going to do the thing again where I say we're going to end, and we're here to help. If anybody wants any other questions, we're here.
I don't see any other questions.
Yeah, but that happened before. I just want to give everybody the opportunity. Okay, we're going to then end it early by a minute. Really appreciate everybody's time and support. And I should just say goodbye and end it. So, have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Please reach out if you have any questions. Have a good one.